Hello, this is Christian Okoye, former Kansas City Chiefs. You are listening to Grilling Truth.
Welcome to the Best Available Draft Podcast on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Best Available Draft Podcast is brought to you by mybookie.ag. I am your host, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host, Matt Minich. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. And tonight, we're going to talk about the top running backs and the top tight ends coming up in the 2018 NFL Draft. And we're going to start with the running backs, and I don't think there's any doubt that number one is Saquon Barkley.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, not just for what he does running the ball, but also excellent spread out in the pass game, catching the ball out of the backfield, and in the modern NFL, that's maybe the biggest thing a running back can do is get involved in the pass game as well.
Well, and the thing that stood out the most to me when watching him was that Iowa game where they throw the last second. McSorley throws the touchdown pass. The thing that set that all up was Barkley laid a devastating block on the Iowa, I think it was a blitzing linebacker or safety. And to me, that's when I really started looking at him differently, because anymore running backs seem to get kind of undervalued. And I think when you take Barkley and the ability he has to do everything, that's why people talk about him being possibly the number one pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's become undervalued because we see so many committees nowadays, and it's starting to turn the other direction now. I feel like the last couple of years, but I mean, there was a period there where there weren't very many featured backs in the league, and he's a guy that can do it. He's a guy that can do it on every down because he can do it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and when we go past him, because I think everybody's seen him, everybody knows what he is. The thing that stands out to me is the fact that you've got two guys from the same team. Which Georgia running back would you take first if you had a choice between the two?
Yeah, Chubb's a really interesting one because, you got to go back a little bit and look what he was pre-injury. But, I mean, he's 5'11", 228 and fast. I mean, that guy can move, and he showed at the combine that he can still move. He makes good cuts. He's got great hips. And I don't know how much Michael we're seeing if Chubb doesn't get injured. So I think to me he's my top guy because I think he brings more to the table with his combination of size and speed. A lot of people like Sony Michael because of what he can do. In the pass game, that's a projection as well, because we didn't really see it out of him. But they see him as that Alvin Kamara, that third down kind of back was going to get a lot of work out of the backfield in the pass game, even though they didn't do it very much in that Georgia offense.
Yeah, but I think when you look at him, I think that who you think is better may kind of depend on which offense you're trying to run. Are you looking for a guy that's an every down back that can take off with the ball all the time, or do you want the guy that can come out of the backfield, catch the passes, and be a little bit of a do-everything guy?
That's true. And in that way, Sony's going to project better into the modern NFL and better into what most people are looking for than Chubb is in that way. But it comes down to can he do that? How much can he contribute doing that in the run game as well? So I think there's kind of a balance with that where he can contribute in that way, but maybe he's not the absolute feature back in an offense. Maybe he is more of the quote unquote third down kind of guy.
And I think the other question, just the fact they were at Georgia, who had a huge stable of running backs, would be, can these guys carry the ball 25, 30 times a game if somebody needs them to? Because they've never had to do that. They've never been on a team where it was needed.
I mean, that's definitely a good point, but I also think there's an advantage to that they haven't had. The injury aside, they haven't had necessarily the wear and tear some of these other guys had. And we've definitely seen that before, where some of these guys, when they get to the NFL, they've already been a little beat up. Chris Perry comes to mind. So I think there's give and take with that.
All right, the next guy would be LSU's Darius Geis. When you look at Darius, what I see is a guy that could be a three-down starter in the NFL. He's a tough runner, speed, strength, instincts, great running ability. I think he clocked a little bit faster in the 40 than guys thought he would. Where do you put Geis in with those other three?
I think Geis is my number 2, right behind Saquon. I think he's the one that has the best chance outside of Saquon to be a first-round pick. I could definitely see him sneaking in, somewhere in possibly the 20s, if not one of those last couple picks. Great vision, excellent speed. He can break tackles. Really a complete all-round back, I think. Question mark with him is obviously this year he wasn't the same. You got to go back and watch the 16 film. He was banged up this year. And even last year, he was on that 16 film, he wasn't supposed to be the guy. Fournette was dealing with some injuries that year, which gave him a chance. So he's never really been the guy and been at 100%. So the big question mark with him is, can he do that? Can he carry the workload and stay healthy?
Yeah, and at running back, that's a position where you really worry about that. Now, you talked about him going into 20s. Where do you think, or what teams do you think may look that quickly in the first round for a running back?
I could see Detroit going that direction. Different regime there now. You'd think Patricia might go defense to start, but they've never really had that guy, to take the load over there for them. And it seems like a change in the guard could be happening at that position for them. I can also see him if he doesn't go anywhere else in the first round. I could see the Eagles taking him. I know they've got Jay Ajayi there now, but now Blunt's gone, and we really didn't see a ton out of Ajayi since they got him. I think Peterson's a guy who likes bringing in as many weapons as he can, whether it's pass rushers or receivers or running backs. And I think that could be a real good fit for him with the Eagles.
All right, now we'll look a little lower, guys, probably second, third round, guys like Kerryon Johnson from Auburn. What's your take on Johnson? I think he's a solid running back, but the one thing that stands out to me is I'm not big on 40-yard dash times, but why would a running back not run a 40 at the combine?
Yeah, it's never a great sign. He's an interesting one because he's very different. He runs high, which is generally seen as a negative, but he does a pretty good job with it. And in some cases, you're gonna actually be able to break more tackles that way because guys aren't used to it. They come in too low in you, and that can cause problems. Also excellent catching the ball in the backfield. I don't know that I see him as a guy who's going to carry the load in the running game. I think I see him more as a receiver from a running back position, but also maybe kind of an H-back fullback type position a little bit too. Not in the true sense of the fullback, more kind of throwing it back to like the Larry Centers types. I think he's a guy that can be used in that third down type capacity. And I think you can do some pretty special things out of that too if he's get the right coach that's putting him in a good position with that stuff.
All right, now we got another guy from USC, Ronald Jones II, who is a guy that's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He ran a 4.6 at the combine. Ran really well for USC. I like this kid. The thing that's questioned to me is he's got to gain more weight to play in the NFL, I think, in order to be possibly a three-down back. But he's got good vision of the field. I like him, and being he's from USC, there is kind of a history there of successful running backs.
Yeah, and he's another guy that runs high, and it's partially because of the uniform he's wearing and partially because of the way he runs. But my mind keeps going to Marcus Allen when I watch him. It does worry me a little bit when he runs high. Oddly enough, it seems like he takes more big hits because of it, and which I don't see with other guys, but I feel like he takes a lot of big time hits. which is going to make the exacerbate the injury concerns as you talked about. But he didn't take a lot of negative plays though. That's where he's different than some other guys. Not really a dancer. He's fast, but he's a north-south guy. He's a one-cut, get it up there guy, and he can break. He's got that speed to really get down the field in a hurry when something breaks up in front of him. Going to need a good offensive line in front of him. I don't know if he can really create anything on his own, but he's got the speed to make some big plays when he's got some holes.
Now, a guy that stands out to me when I watched him this year, and for some reason most people rank him somewhere between 7 and 10, is Rashad Penny. What I like about Penny is he's a downhill runner, but also I think he fits current offensive systems in the NFL really well. Runs great routes, can catch the ball. What's your take on Penny? Because this is a kid I like.
Yeah, he's another guy too that I don't see him creating a lot on his own. He is a downhill guy. They use him down scheme, power type scheme in that offense, which fits with what a lot of people are doing in the NFL. Elite speed. I mean, that guy can straight up fly. He's got good vision to make cuts. When the hole's there, he's going to hit it, do a great job with it, and get up there and make a play. He seems to go down on the first blow a lot, though. So I don't really see. I don't know if that play strength is there for him. That he's breaking any tackles, even though he's a pretty good sized guy. He seems like pretty much a pure speed guy to me, which is definitely going to be somebody that can contribute if he's used correctly. You can play to that strength, but I wonder if he can be an every down guy. Without being able to break some more tackles and make some more yards after first contact.
I don't think he can, but I think his route running and the way he catches the ball and the way it looks like he kind of has a feel for where to sit when he's running against his own defense, I think he's a guy that if you get him in the third round, it can make a huge impact as a third down back.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he's a guy with his speed and overall athleticism, I think he's got the tools to actually line up at receiver in those situations. So you can make him, you can add him to your stable of running backs. And that doesn't mean you have to take the other guy off the field. Much like what the Saints were doing this year, when Kamara and Andrew Ingram will both be on the field at times. You can line them up, split them out, use him in those situations, and even if it's just him running vertical to open up stuff underneath, he's going to be able to take the top off the defense for you.
All right. Is there anybody else we didn't bring up that you may want to mention to keep an eye on?
Well, I think Nyheim Hines, another speedy little guy. Penny wasn't a little guy, but he's another real fast guy. Kind of reminds me of Cohen, who went to the Bears last year. I think he's a guy that could be a role player in an offense. I also think a small school guy. I've got a small school article coming out. I'll plug that right now. Should be coming out in the next week or so here. Chase Edmonds from Fordham. Excellent player, great vision. Gets downhill right away. He's got all the tools you really look for in a running back. Not a very big guy. So don't know how much of a workload he can take, but he's a guy that can definitely contribute for an NFL offense.
Okay. Have you seen a guy by the name of Martez Carter from Grambling State?
I haven't delved too much into Carter actually.
Okay, because actually you got to check him out. He catches the ball good out of the backfield. He's a good player. I haven't seen a lot of him. I just saw some film of him today for a couple minutes. I've just seen if you saw anything and knew anything more than I did. All right, we're going to transition now, and we're going to go to tight ends, tight ends to me, there's like three guys here that I think are really good, possibly four. But when we look at this, who's the guy that stands out most to you? Because what I see here, most people have in one order or another, Hayden Hurst, Mark Andrews, Gesicki from Penn State. Which one of those three guys do you think is better, or is there somebody else out there that you prefer?
Well, Dallas Goedert from South Dakota State is the guy that really sticks out to me the most. I think he fits in most with the modern NFL. He's not really a true inline guy. He's got the strength to be, but definitely needs to work on his blocking if they're going to be using him as an inline guy. But he's got great hands. He makes some ridiculous catches if you watch his film. Just goes up in the air, does some crazy things, pulls down one-handed catches. He adjusts to the ball really well. He's got great size and athletic ability, and he runs really good routes as well. So he's a really well-developed player. You don't always see that out of guys from who aren't from the biggest programs. A lot of times their athleticism alone is going to get them on the field, but he's got a lot of that built into him. Like I say, it makes a lot of really awesome one-handed catches. They move them all around the formation, like teams like to do a lot with tight ends nowadays. So I think he could be a real standout guy in the NFL for somebody.
All right. I disagree partially. I think he's going to be a really good player. The thing I see is I don't know if he can get separation from NFL defenses, linebackers and safeties. And I know he's got the ability to make these great one-hand catches in college, but if he's going up against guys that are physically, like him instead of the competition he played at South Dakota State, and that's not to downgrade that. South Dakota State has a really nice program. But I just think there's a difference. And what I see from him is I think he'll be really good, but I don't think he'll be elite because I don't know if he's really got the speed or suddenness or the ability to create separation to be a top-level, top-5 tight end.
Well, I mean, you make some good points there. And I think he relies on those one-handed catches sometimes when he doesn't even need to. So he does some ridiculous stuff, and sometimes it's like, man, why'd you even do that? And that's always a concern. Full disclosure, about 10 years ago, I was the tight ends coach at South Dakota State. So I'm a little biased to the program, but I can tell you the conference that they play in is the best conference in the FCS level, but it's still the FCS level. So they're seeing great competition week in and week out, but you've got to worry about physically what are your opponents like, and how are they matching up. So I think like Carson Wentz coming from North Dakota State in the same conference, to me, I never worried about that with Carson Wentz because they're seeing complicated defenses. They're seeing the same types of defenses that the teams in the SEC and the Big 12 are seeing. It's the speed and the strength, in those direct matchups where you see a difference. And as a quarterback, I mean, you might as well be a kicker. You're not directly trying to outrun somebody. You're not directly blocking on somebody. Trying to make tackles, anything like that. So it doesn't really apply to that spot. But for a tight end, when we're trying to judge you as a blocker, we're trying to judge your strength in that way. We're trying to judge your speed. You don't know who you're seeing week in and week out. So that's absolutely it's absolutely a good point. But what I see at that size and being able to move around the formation, I think he can be a serious guy in the NFL. Injuries aside, my comp for him is Tyler Eifert. I see him as being able to have that kind of impact in the NFL.
Tyler Eifert hadn't had much impact in the NFL. He's had a lot of impact in hospitals around the greater Cincinnati area, though. I know what you mean, though. When I look at it, the guy that stands out the most to me is Mike Gesicki, the guy from Penn State. I mean, he's a guy that I see that I think will be a great red zone weapon in the NFL. Very good at high pointing the ball, boxing out defenders, making leaping catches, has great size and quickness and leaping ability. What's your take on Gesicki? I like him. I know a lot of people don't. The biggest problem with Gesicki is he's not a very good blocker.
Yeah, and I mean, you can say that about most of these guys, especially the top few we're going to talk about are guys that didn't put their hand in the dirt very often. They're guys that aren't making their money doing that. So, with him, I was a little concerned about his athletic ability, honestly, on film. And then he put all those concerns aside at the combine. But he does make ridiculous sideline catches in particular. And I feel like in every game there was one catch, there was at least one catch on the sideline that it didn't look like anybody should have been able to make, and he makes it, pulls it down, and getting at least a foot in. He's also a guy moving around the formation. They line him up in different spots. Good hands. Not a very good blocker. Looks pretty stiff. And we saw the athleticism that he can jump out the gym, and that he can fly, but he looks pretty stiff. So I'm not sure about how much nuance he's going to be able to have in his route running. And it seemed like at Penn State he didn't run a very large group of routes. It didn't seem like he's running much that was really too difficult. So I wonder how much shake he's got to be able to get out and find holes in the defense. But yeah, I mean, we saw the excellent athletic ability at the combine, elite size, makes some ridiculous catches. So
gets vertical
absolutely
well,
think
too.
he can make a play.
Gets vertical really well also.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he's going to be able to do that, and I think that's the big thing too, is just having a guy of that size who can get up the field, and what are you going to do? I mean, he's 6'6". Who's going to be able to run with that guy?
That's why to me he's the best one, because none of them can block, but he gets deep. And the other guy that I think really runs the seam route well is Mark Andrews from Oklahoma. He can't block either, but when you look at him, the same thing. He's really quick, dangerous down the seam. But what's your take on Andrews?
With Andrews, I mean, you kind of touched on it. He's not really a tight end. He's like a different kind of slot receiver. He's a bigger slot receiver basically. But he's got good hands. I think he can make some tough catches. And pretty athletic in terms of kind of getting in and out of things. I don't think he's a guy that's making huge plays in the NFL. But he's a guy that you can move around the formation and do some stuff with. I think he fits well, into that same type of role. Maybe more as kind of like a second guy. I don't know that I see him as being a primary threat for anybody. But yeah, definitely can contribute in the pass game. Not going to do much for you in the run game. But again, that's kind of the direction it's going. It's like saying, this corner can't tackle very well. It's true and it stinks, but it doesn't really matter in the NFL nowadays.
Now, the other guy is a tight end, and I've seen a lot of people rank him number one, is Hayden Hurst from South Carolina. What's your take on Hurst?
I'm not huge on Hurst. He's
I'm
can
not
block
either.
a little bit better
I'm
than
glad
some of the
to
other
hear
guys.
that, because everything I was looking at today, there's a lot of sites that have him at number one.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen, I've seen it a lot, and especially early in the process, before Giuseppe's combine and before people got around to watching the FCS film. He's real stiff in his routes. Kind of squares everything off. Like I say, he's an okay blocker. Probably a little better than the other guys, but he didn't really seem to engage with it too much. And I don't think he gives really great effort unless he knows he's getting the ball. He does seem like a guy he's tough to bring down. He can make some good catches, adjust to things. And he can he can make guys miss. He does some good stuff with the ball in his hands. But I don't see him as being an elite guy by any stretch. I don't see him as being able to make the kind of plays that I think Giuseppe and Goddard can make at the next level. I would put him in him and Andrews really kind of in that next tier. And I've actually, I've got some other guys that I think kind of fit along that same line as well. I don't think he's a big time playmaking guy in the NFL.
All right. Who else do you got that you like at the tight end position in this draft?
Well, one guy so a little deep is Cam Sergan from Wake Forest. He's a real good route runner, pretty good blocker. Reliable hands. Not the biggest guy though. He's a 6'3", 240 guy. So he'd have to go into the right offense where they were using him for a specific thing. My comp for him, he reminds me of Dallas Clark. He's more that H-back kind of guy. So I think he can contribute in some different ways, but more of an H-back and not really a not a take the top off the defense kind of guy. Dalton Schultz from Stanford's another good one.
I like
he's a
him.
big
He
guy.
can block too.
Yes, yeah, he's a multi-purpose guy, and that's it. What you're getting out of him, he's a 6'6", 242. He can block, and he's actually kind of the opposite. Is you look at some of these guys, and you're like, hey, he's big and he looks like he's pretty strong. They didn't really make him block. Maybe he can block. Well, with Schultz, it's kind of the opposite. He's big, but hey, he's pretty athletic. Maybe he can catch or maybe he can move around the formation and catch the ball and stuff. If we use him more in that.
Well, I think he's a kid that would have rated higher if he wasn't stuck at Stanford. Because let's face it, when you got Bryce Love, you're not throwing the ball a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It gave him an option to give him the ability to show up in a different way a little bit, but. They're running a different kind of offense, and they got a back that's the best player on their team. So he's a guy that can do a lot of things, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be there a little bit deeper, where you're looking for more of that guy that can be the second tight end you bring in the goal line, but also who you can have a threat receiving with. So he's definitely one I like. Then the last one I'll mention is Troy Fumagalli from Wisconsin. I kind of see him as a multi-purpose guy as well. I can compare him to Hewitt from the Bengals. Almost a fullback. He lines up off the ball a lot. Does a lot of different things. Good blocker. Needs to bend his knees a little bit more. Stay on blocks a little bit better. But does a pretty good job with blocking, and he's pretty athletic. Good hands, can make catches when he's got guys draped around him. So I think he's another guy that can contribute in a lot of ways, but isn't necessarily going to be that guy that you're going to want on your fantasy football team or anything.
All right, very good. I want to remind everybody you can hear us every Thursday on the Best Available Draft podcast leading up to the draft. We will, on thegruelingtruth.net, have a live NFL draft show. This will be the third year we've done it. What position we do it next Thursday, Matt?
We got offensive line coming up.
All right, so make sure you check back. So, because I'm probably just going to say a lot of bad things about Orlando Brown from watching his film. That was bad. I haven't seen a film that bad since. I don't know that I've ever seen a film that bad. But we'll talk about Orlando Brown.
Well, if you thought the film was bad, you should see the combine.
Oh, that's where he benched, 2 chocolate bars 12 times or something. But
yeah.
So make sure you come back, join me and Matt next Thursday night for the Best Available Draft podcast. We'll be talking offensive linemen. Remember, you can go to the iTunes store, download the Grueling Truth app. Just go in, type in Grueling Truth. You'll see it. Download it. You can hear all of our shows. If you're into the Final Four, me and former Indiana Hoosier, 1981 national champion Steve Risley did our Final Four preview show a little bit earlier tonight. So that's up on the website also. You can check that out. You can hear all of our podcasts on iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Matt Minich, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.